Let's go over to rule number 3. It's closely related to the last one. This one is treat yourself or others disrespectfully, preferably both. Victims struggle with how to treat others with respect and still respect themselves. If we don't respect ourselves, then we continually make choices that hurt us. If we don't respect other people, then we try to control and manipulate them to respond the way we want them to respond. There's no place where the victim behavior plays out more than in our families. That's the number one arena by far. That's because we spend more time with our families. Let me give you another example here. So Jen tripped over my words here. So Daniel is a junior in high school. He lives with his mom and 2 younger sisters. And he can see that his mom is stressed out all the time. Single mom, raising 3 kids, trying to hold down a job. He understands that. But he feels like his mom is treating him like a child, like his younger sisters, not as the almost adult that he is. He's angry about this, but his mom just doesn't seem very interested in his problems and his life and what he's going through. So he just does what he wants, gives her a hard time, or gives her the silent treatment, hiding in his room. Daniel is being a victim following rule number 3. He's also following rule 2 because he's not asking about talking to her about his needs. But he has a legitimate issue with his mom, and he deserves to be heard and respected. This is something that needs to be heard. But he hasn't given his mom a chance to hear what his frustration and his struggle is because he won't talk to her. He has shut her out, so he's just reacting to her, but he's not sharing his issue. Instead, he's being mean and he's being rebellious. He's being a victim. Daniel is making choices that make his relationship with his mother worse, not better. His victim behavior is making his home life more painful. If Daniel would take a risk and approach his mom and talk to her, there would be a chance, a possibility, that things might get better. Instead of the silent treatment, Daniel could say, "Hey, Mom, I know you have a lot going on, but I have some things I need to talk over with you. I'm constantly frustrated by the way that you are treating me. I need to talk to you. Is there a time that you'd be willing to sit down so we could talk this out?" That is a choice that is respectful of Daniel and respectful of his mother. That's a win-win for both parties. He's voicing his needs in the relationship, but it's also respectful of his mom because he's giving her an opportunity to hear why he has an attitude all the time, and he's asking her when it would be a good time for her. That's always a respectful thing to do in a healthy relationship. Is this a good time to talk? When would be a good time for us to deal with this? This is our goal in learning to live victoriously and not as a victim, to treat others and ourselves with respect. That's what makes for a healthy relationship. And again, with this rule, we have a passive victim and we have an aggressive victim. The passive victim disrespects themselves, letting other people walk all over them. The aggressive victim disrespects other people, trying to force them to do what they want them to do. Neither victim, neither side is trusting God. Neither one is doing what God would like them to do. Trust Him to provide for their needs, because people will always let us down in terms of our needs eventually. Some will meet our needs some of the time, but no one will meet our needs all the time. That's God's role in our life. And so the victims go about it in unhealthy ways because they don't accept that truth. I want you to hear something important, though, about the godly approach, because I don't want to mislead you. Sharing your needs and sharing your wants in a respectful way does not mean the other person will automatically give you what you want. It does not guarantee that they will treat you with equal respect. It doesn't mean you will never be disappointed by their response. However, it is still the right thing to do. But you need to know the reality. It's not a magic wand that it's all going to be perfect and rosy and wonderful. But it is still the right thing to do. Because doing the right thing is always the right thing to do. And you being a victim doesn't help anything get better. The passive victim will use silence as a weapon of retaliation. The aggressive victim will use their voice, but in a way that is not kind. A bully voice. They are judgmental, threatening, and blaming. They think they know what's best for everyone. And that their tactic is force and intimidation. So in order to break out of these harmful patterns, we must learn to respect others and respect ourselves at the same time. Victims need to learn to be vulnerable and to share what they're thinking without being afraid, without making demands and threats. Just let it be. Just put it out there. Just respectfully and kindly use your voice and let the other person make their own mind up, their own decision about how they're going to respond. The Golden Rule is a great verse to guide us in these matters. Luke 6:31 says, "And just as you want men to do to you, you also do to them likewise." So if you wouldn't like someone to do it to you, don't do it to anybody else under any circumstances. So here are some typical false beliefs that contribute to rule number 3. I am not worthy of love. It is acceptable for me to disrespect myself or others. I can't trust God to meet my needs. Those are all lies. Here's the truth. I am someone worthy of love. There's your blank. Worthy. I am worthy of love. Everyone, me included, deserves respect, and God will meet my needs. Your rebellion strategy for rule number 3 is let God, not you, be in charge of other people. Let God heal and remove your fear and anger, and let God be your protector, provider, and power source. All right, we're almost done. We just have 2 more rules, rules 4 and 5. Again, our life conduct rules. Do not change dysfunctional areas of your life and live your life in extremes, avoiding balance. Victims live messy lives. Not only are their relationships messy, but so is the way they live at home, at school, on their jobs, sports, their activities, whatever they're involved in. Because their false beliefs about their identity, they refuse to take responsibility for their life by changing dysfunctional areas. They are either unable or unwilling to see they have other options, to see they could make different choices. So here are things victims choose when they are following Rule 4, just to give you some examples. They want to get involved in a sport, but they're too afraid to try out. They keep complaining about never having enough money, but they're not willing to go out and get a job. They hate the fact that they are addicted to something, alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, whatever it is, but they don't get help to stop that. They know that friends they hang out with are headed for serious trouble, but they're not willing to find new friends, a new group of friends, and leave that old group. They're tired of hearing their parents nag about not getting their chores done, but they're not taking responsibility for the things they're supposed to be doing. They ignore their responsibility. They're failing at school, but they still choose to not get their homework done or study for tests. This is living like a victim. Even when life is not working right, even when things are not going well, they don't stop and make a new plan, go a new direction, make the necessary changes. Victims believe they have to do things the way they do it because they have no other choice. As I said, that's a lie. That's a lie. We always have more than one choice about how we do things. And there's your blank. Always. Victims falsely believe their issues and problems are too big to overcome. They constantly sell God short, believing He is unable or unwilling to help. They always have reasons why they can't obey God in this or that particular thing. I am not saying that doing the right thing is always easy. It is not. Sometimes doing the right thing is the hardest thing in the world. But I am saying that when we live the way God asks us to live, it prevents a lot of problems and unnecessary hardship. Victims always have control issues. They either go one direction, trying to control everything, or they go the other direction, throwing up their hands, controlling nothing. And then they just let life happen to them and wonder why everything's such a mess and a disaster. Here's a few false beliefs that sometimes go along with rule number 4. I can't do anything about the problem areas of my life. Number 2, I'm not responsible for my choices because of what others have done to me. And the last one, I know better than God. But here's the truth. I can make better choices in every area of my life. I alone am responsible for my choices regardless of what others have done. God's wisdom is infinitely greater than mine. And there's your blank. Infinitely. And our rebellion strategy for Rule 4, be willing to stop ways of living that are wrong or don't work, analyze those areas, and plan new ways to approach them. Get help when needed. All right, let's land the plane here. Rule number 5, live your life in extremes, avoiding balance. Ecclesiastes 7:18 says, whoever fears God will avoid all extremes. Victims live chaotic lives, lives that are stressful, lives that don't work, lives that are sad. It's sad because they don't have to live that way. They can make different choices. All they have to do is go a different way. But because they have black and white thinking, all or nothing thinking, they lock themselves into these bad patterns. So you've got another list. Get your highlighter one more time. I'm going to mention the different sides of these continuums. Highlight whichever side is the tendency you go toward at times. The first one is deprivation or indulgence. Alone, can't be alone. Anorexic or binging. Controlling or pushover. Can't risk. Can't be responsible. Plans everything or plans nothing. Rigid and inflexible or rebels against structure. Perfectionist or lazy. Denies pleasure or lives for pleasure. Can't break the rules or can't follow the rules. Can't be late or can't be on time. Obsessive compulsive or addictive. Never gives up or never tries. Apologizes for everything or apologizes for nothing. Puts self down, puts others down. Never rests or never works. All right, here's some false beliefs that might go with Rule 5. I can't be safe unless I control everything or unless I control nothing. I can do a better job of conducting my life than God can. But the truth is that my safety is found in my relationship with God and letting Him control my life. God is the best. There's your blank there. God is the best choice to conduct my life. Here's our last rebellion strategy. Desire to have a balance in all areas of your life. Turn out of balance areas over to God and let Him change you. Make a plan, take steps, and follow through. All right, in your daily journey steps this week, you're going to begin working on our next healing step. This is another worksheet. It's called the Victim Worksheet. We're going to be on that the next 3 weeks. And this is the first step toward understanding our victim behavior, learning to recognize when it's showing up. And that's the purpose of this worksheet. Again, don't let the word victim throw you. Anytime we do something regretful or wrong toward ourselves or someone else, we're acting like a victim. If you're having trouble thinking of a time when you acted like a victim, then just go back to a situation where you feel, where you're certain that you did not respond in the best way you could have, that you feel some regret about how you handled it, and then work it backwards, and you'll have a situation that you could process on that worksheet. As I said, I want to repeat one more time, victim behaviors are hard to change. In some ways, we work on this our entire life. We're just going to get you started on it here. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's worth the effort, because acting like a victim makes everything messy and disappointing. Because living victoriously means every area of our life gets better. Our relationships get better. Life at home gets better. Life at work and school gets better. Everything improves when we start responding as a healthy person and conducting our life in a healthy way. Everything improves. And that's when we actually begin to experience joy in our life, satisfaction, happiness in our life, those basic human needs. It's really a marvelous process, and it's a process that leads to a great life for all of you. All right, I want to repeat something. That concludes our lesson, but I want to repeat something from last week, because we had some of our students back tonight. We made some changes in Unit 3. So we've moved some of the homework, the steps that we wanted you to do during the week to Monday night. So not only do we have a little exercise in the middle of the lesson, but in Unit 3, you're going to have a short exercise at the end of the lesson. Liz wrote Unit 3. In our planning, we decided, let's see what happens. We're listening to you. We're respecting the things that you've shared with us. We want this to work in the reality of your life. So we're asking you to give the daily journey steps a fresh look. If you did not do them in Unit 1 and Unit 2, we're asking you to do them in Unit 3. So let's apply the victim behavior, okay? So saying you don't have time to do the daily journey step, I'm going to be honest with you, that's victim behavior, okay? So we want to be respectful of you. You're busy people. You have homework and school responsibility and work and so forth. So we're trying to make this work better in your life. So give it another look. Give it another try. We want to know how many minutes you're spending on it, because that's important to us. I really think you can complete this in about 45 minutes, but I don't know that for a fact until I get your feedback. So we'll give you a few weeks to do that, and then I'm going to start asking you, how many minutes did you spend, okay? I'll give you about 3 weeks so you can let me know how long it's taking. Important feedback. So write an affirmation. You've got this on your form. It's very important we start to think accurately and positively about ourselves. I wrote one about myself here, just an example so you know what we're looking for on this closing reflection. Cindy, you are a good person and worth getting to know. That's point number 1. Taking time to be with your friends is worthwhile. Blessing you and others. So the truth, an affirmation includes the truth. I'm saying it to myself. Cindy, you're a good person and worth getting to know. Therefore, so I'm going to make a healthy choice. Taking time with your friends is worthwhile. It'll bless you and your friends. So write a affirmation statement to yourself, pulling out perhaps one of the points we want to learn. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. Does anybody have any questions, comments?